Hey, everybody. Welcome to FL Teams Live. It is Jeff Macolino here with Jeremiah Hensley. As always, we are giving you the NFL Power Rankings voted on by FL Teams after National Football League week number 16. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. And if you're watching this, we hope you have a Happy New Year as well. But only if you're watching this. So. You know who's probably not watching this because they're busy, but our newest partner. They're revolutionizing the world of sports betting and fan engagement by making sports fandom profitable. That company is Symbol, the stock market for sports. Download the Symbol app. It's spelled SIMBULL and use the promo code FLTEAMS to receive a free team stock valued up to $150 upon signing up. Again, that is Symbol, stock market for sports. It's going to scroll by here on the bottom very soon. And the promo code FLTEAMS. So with all that being said, Jeremiah, are you ready for the bottom half of the National Football League?
Absolutely, man. Let's get it rolling.
Let's roll. Number 32. We've got another new last place team. The Denver Broncos deserve the spot so well. They fired Nathaniel Hackett after the Christmas Day debacle. Staying at number 31 despite the win, just barely. The Houston Texans moving up to number 30, just barely. They actually just won a tiebreaker over the Texans in all full disclosure. Number 30, the Indianapolis Colts. Number 29, the Chicago Bears. Number 28, the Arizona Cardinals. Number 27, the Atlanta Falcons. Number 26, the defending champion Los Angeles Rams after their big win. Well, big. Number-wise. Number 25, the Cleveland Browns and that hapless quarterback that they guaranteed so much money for. Number 24, the Las Vegas Raiders, who I wasn't going to talk about, but there was some late-breaking news. I don't even know if you saw that we have to talk about the Raiders for a little bit. Number 23, the Carolina Panthers. Number 22, the New Orleans Saints. Number 21, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All those NFC South teams still clumping together. Number 20, the dying Tennessee Titans. Number 19, the New England Patriots, who just find great ways to lose games lately. Number 18, Jeremiah's favorite team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And rounding out the bottom half, number 17, the Seattle Seahawks, who are on a nosedive right now, as a few of these teams are, frankly. Let's start with the Bucs. I don't even know if they're worth talking about because I think all's been said that needs to be said. They squeaked by with another win over a terrible team with Trace McSorley, honestly playing better than Tom Brady. It was just another one of those games where the other team did not want to win, and just eventually the Bucs did just enough to get into overtime and win the game. One thing I heard on NFL Network the day after Christmas, which lit me up, was I believe it was Kyle Brandt who went on a rant about how he doesn't want to see the Bucs in the playoffs because they're the most boring and horrible team in the entire league to watch play. He wants the Saints to somehow miraculously pull it off because at least they have Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill and can do some fun things. Bucs are probably going to be the team in the playoffs, but God dang, they are an ugly football team to watch.
Jeff, in an effort to overcome my Miami Dolphins hangover, which I kind of live streamed on TikTok as they were playing, I figured I would come back and I would live stream on TikTok that Arizona and Tampa Bay game, right? I regretted my decision at the end of the first quarter, but I thought I was kind of pot committed and there were people in there. So we were talking to each other and I'm like, well, I guess I got to stay. It was the ugliest game I've ever seen. It was hard to watch. Had I not been forced to be there through my own volition of like, I started this, I have to finish it. Oh my God. Dude, just everything is bad. Broken routes, bad passes, horrible penalties, no blocking, no vision from the backs, running right back. It was just, God, it was bad. It was so bad. And I stuck through the whole thing. I can't, like, that is awful. It's just, there was two awful teams, and it was awful. The
Yeah.
Bucs don't deserve to get in. I would much rather see the Saints or a streaking Panthers team, something. Let's have a story, because there is no story in Tampa Bay. It's not there. It's not coming back. This ship is broke. It's broken.
Yeah.
Ugly.
Yeah. That's that's all we need to say. It's ugly.
Hey, I love that the Houston Texans are no longer nailed into the 32 spot. They are firmly 31. They are one better than one team every week.
Yeah, and they got the win over the Titans, who have fallen out of the lead in the AFC South.
Yeah.
I would be shocked. We can touch on this when we get to the Jaguars, but I would be shocked if the Jaguars don't win the division over that Titans team, which if you had told someone that 5 weeks ago, they would have said, all right, druggie, go enjoy whatever you're smoking.
Everybody pulls for their team to win and everything else, but I think silently, quietly, where there are no cameras and nothing to catch them, Ryan Tannehill has a little bit of a smile on his face, because Tennessee's getting a glimpse of the Malik Willis years, and it means Ryan's probably going to stick around for another year. Like, Willis is not adding to this offense in the way that they hoped.
I don't think there are going to be Malik Willis years unless he takes many strides above, because, look, he'll probably get another couple games here to show himself, but and he is a rookie, in fairness, that went to a pretty small school, but
100%.
I mean, he needs to show something that says I can actually play quarterback in the NFL, or he's not going to get a shot as a starter.
Just one glimpse, one throw, one run, one something that says there's something.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Beating the Texans is the bare minimum, I would say.
Yeah. So that got bad. And then we talked about the Cardinals in there. They're awful. Colts continue to spiral.
The Raiders are the team. Again, is somewhat late breaking, at least to me. Derek Carr is benched and told to stay home, not to even come. So I'm assuming Josh McDaniels has cleared all this with the powers that be above, in which case that means Carr is definitely not going to be the Raiders quarterback in 2023. Not necessarily. I mean, a disappointing season for the Raiders, who blew 3 17-point leads earlier this season, started to build a comeback after a terrible season was in front of them, and then really a tough weather game against Pittsburgh, but blew that one late. Also, they're still technically alive for the playoffs, but I think they've waved the white flag here with sitting Carr. So that kind of kicks off next year's little quarterback carousel. So I guess we don't need to dive in. This is just the offseason, Denver firing Hackett, which I think everyone saw coming, especially after, their sideline fights going on Christmas Day. I mean, they're just a disaster. And I don't know who the hell is going to want to go there and coach Russell Wilson, or the ghost of Russell Wilson. The ghost of Russell Wilson, Christmas past, or future, or whatever the hell the analogy would be.
And I love just the story of the star-crossed lovers that are Derek Carr and Davante Adams. We're playing on separate teams. No, we're coming together. Well, this is horrible. Now we're playing on separate teams. So the idea is what they said with Derek Carr is it's pretty clear they're not having him involved in anything at this point, because they just want to maintain his trade value. That's it. They don't want him hurt. They don't want him playing. They don't want him anything near. They have clearly drawn that in the sand that your time in Las Vegas is over. Good luck in your future endeavors.
I think that I in a backwards way, I also think that hurts his trade value, because the Raiders don't really have a leg to stand on of, we'll keep him we offered you a 4th rounder. If you can't do better, you can keep them. See how that goes for you.
we saw how that shit played out with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Right? In Cleveland.
Yeah.
When it became apparent that Baker was not coming back to Cleveland, then there was no reason to trade. There was no, you just let it play out. It's the game of chicken. And inevitably the team holding the quarterback's the one that's going to fall.
Yeah.
And again, I always do this, but the quarterback carousel, I do wonder. Baker's won a couple of games with the Rams. He hasn't looked fantastic in any way. Stafford is a little bit older. He got hurt and he was on his way out. Is there a possibility Baker stays and Stafford walks away? Or if not, is Baker going to be a backup? That's going to be interesting again. And
Stafford,
hey, I'm suddenly. What do you say?
Yeah, Stafford says he's not retiring. Which that would clear. I think McVay probably likes his new toy quite a bit. I think he's having fun with Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. How quickly he's been able to adapt to playing on a new. That's the thing that's been the most impressive to me. Is I don't know if McVay's system is just. It can't be that easy to pick up because look at a guy like Jared Goff who took a ton of steps when he got away from Sean McVay. Baker Mayfield looks like maybe he's just made for this kind of offense. Obviously, they were playing the Broncos.
Right. But I don't think talent has ever been a question with Baker. I really haven't. I think it's headspace and who can get in there and make it right. But look, I'm telling you, as a Dolphins fan, and we'll get into it a little more when we get into that upper half, my eyes are wide open when it comes to quarterbacks right now. So I'm paying very, very close attention.
Mine too. Let's get to that top half. Number 16, the suddenly surging Green Bay Packers, who might also have someone on the quarterback carousel this offseason, maybe one or the other. Number 15, the struggling New York Jets. They do get Mike White back, though, for the last two games. Number 14, the Washington Commanders. Number 13, America's Sweethearts, the Lions. Their carriage turned to a pumpkin or whatever the hell Cinderella had happened to her.
Yeah, exactly.
Fall only to number 13 after the loss to the Panthers. The Miami Dolphins fall down to number 12. Number 11, the New York Giants. Number 10, the top-ranked team in the state of Florida for – I'm fairly certain this has to be the first time all year. The Jacksonville Jaguars cracked the top 10. How about that?
Wow.
Number 9, the playoff-bound Los Angeles Chargers. Number 8, the miraculous Minnesota Vikings. Number 7, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 6, the Dallas Cowboys, who squeaked by Gardner Minshew. Number 5, the San Francisco 49ers. Number 4, falling to number 4, the Cincinnati Bengals. Falling to number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 2, and this was actually a tie for number 1, but tie broken by the most number 1 votes. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. And number 1, the Buffalo Bills. And obviously that tells you how close we have them. Bills and Chiefs, 1A and 1B, but for sake of power rankings, they are number 1 and 2. I'll say this so we don't go on about the Dolphins for 20 minutes here. There was a broadcast yesterday that you should check out with Isaac and Jeremiah talking about Tua and the Dolphins situation. To summarize, if you have lived under a rock or just don't follow the Dolphins, Tua is back in concussion protocol after turning into Tua Claus, as you so nicely worded it on Christmas, and just throwing some weird-looking interceptions, we'll say. Bizarre to see an NFL quarterback throw one of those, let alone 3 of them, quite frankly. And a lot of questions about, obviously, I assume he's done for the season, no matter how far the Dolphins go. I'm assuming or hoping that's the case for his sake. But there's a lot of people, on the internet, they're saying this dude needs to retire because this is a bad sign for your brain. Jeremiah, the Dolphins still, though, are 7th in the AFC, clinging to that spot. They got a couple of tough games now with Teddy Two Gloves coming in. How are you feeling about the whole ball of wax?
So I'm going to quickly summarize, and you can get the in depth on the other end. If Tua's strap, if his chin strap gets tightened again this year, I'm going to question my Miami Dolphin fandom. I'm going to understand, and I'm going to question Mike McDaniel, because at the end of the day, the head coach has to say. There's not a reason in the world, I don't care if we make a Super Bowl run, that Tua should ever put a helmet back on this year, and maybe never. He's already had injury histories, and you know, a player's going to want to play. Sometimes if you're a guy like Mike McDaniel, who again says you care about these players and you built these bonds, then you don't let him on the field. And that's all I must say. We did a lot on it yesterday. Check out Isaac and I on the FL Teams YouTube, the other stuff. What I will say is this. The Dolphins offense, I think before, when Tua had his first concussion, they were smart in getting Teddy Bridgewater, because Teddy Bridgewater has a similar set of strengths that a healthy Tua has. He's accurate, right? He's accurate in those 15, 17, 20-yard, 10-yard underneath. He's accurate. That's what he needs. The Dolphins offense is designed for that. And for me, if there's a silver lining, maybe with Tua out of the game, Miami will finally commit to the run. Again, in the Packers game, averaging 4.6 yards per carry, and we ran the ball 18 times. 4.6 yards a carry. You lose by a possession, and you run the ball 18 times. There's not a rhyme or reason. Mike McDaniel, who's supposed to be a run guru, the first time that a running back gets hit or stopped for 1 yard, a loss, just a 2-yard gain, he abandons the run. It's gone. And every time he's like, oh, the defense made it. Shut up. You run so you wear it down. Maybe they'll start running the ball more. I think the Dolphins offense is set up enough that we win one of the last two at New England, or the Jets coming to Miami. And that's all I think we'll really need. If we win one of those two, we're pretty much in. We did enough early on. And, you know, I do think that this team will rally around. The last time that Teddy Bridgewater, if we remember, had a full week of practice, we only got to see like one play, because Sauce Gardner just took his head off and put Bridgewater in concussion protocol on the first snap he took. And in came Skylar Thompson. So Teddy's had a whole week to go with the team. I think he's accurate. And I think that can play to the strengths. The defense is playing better. So there's still a chance that we get into the playoffs on this. I think talent-wise across the board, Miami is more talented than New England, and they're more talented than the Jets. For now. The Jets next year, come see me, because that's a really young and talented team that's only going to get better. So I think, again, we got to win one of those two. I like our chances. But we're, you know, and I say it in this sense as a Dolphins fan. This NFL year has been very, very weird. The Dolphins, even when they lose, they've lost close. And if you had all the guys in a big circle in the room, all the head coaches of teams that made the playoffs, I guarantee you the Dolphins are in the top 3 of teams you don't want to see in the playoffs, right? You don't want to play the Bills. You don't want to play Kansas City. But after that, I don't think anybody really wants to play Miami, because of the game-breaking ability that Tyreek Hill has, that Jalen Waddle has, that you have to be on your game for 60 minutes because you miss one coverage and it's going to go 65, right? You miss one tackle and it's going to go, you know. So I think the Dolphins can make some noise. We're not a Super Bowl contender. I said earlier in the year I didn't think it was that, even with Tua. So I think we get in. But I will tell you, as a football fan, I might be more excited about the other team in Florida right now. Jacksonville is making some noise as Tennessee is sinking like a stone. The Colts are just a dumpster fire. And here comes Jacksonville, you know?
Jacksonville set for maybe a little run there in their division for a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
Not to get ahead of ourselves. Obviously, you know, they play the Texans this week. It's one of those games that you better not overlook. And then obviously the big showdown against the Titans in the final week of the season. But yeah, the Jaguars look real good right now to get into the playoffs. They probably, it looks like, will be going up against the Ravens as the 4 seed hosting the 5 seed.
Wow.
They beat the Ravens earlier this year with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And who the hell knows when Lamar Jackson's coming back? Presumably back for the playoffs, but who really knows? Yeah, the Jaguars could be, and again, they're that team I think that everyone's rooting for. I still cringe every time I see ETN carry the. I don't think I've watched a Jaguars game, even a chunk of a Jaguars game, where I haven't seen ETN fumble. Or I think against the Jets, he just popped it up in the air and caught it himself. But it's like, come on, man, protect the damn football. The Jaguars are going to lose the playoffs with an ETN fumble. Mark that. That's my prediction.
Timestamp it. So how about the number 7 seed currently in the NFC going back to Carson Wentz yet again? Taylor Heineke will not be your starter this week. It's going to be Carson Wentz.
I don't think they're trying to make the playoffs.
Well, and so I'm happy about the Wentz thing because that leaves Detroit standing a chance, right?
Oh yeah,
Detroit's still there. So that that's going to be interesting. I'm
predicting the Browns are going to beat the Commanders this week. I mean, I don't think the Commanders are going to put up any points. The Browns are good for, if it's not, sub-zero like it was this past week, they're good for 17 to 20 points probably.
Yeah.
Maybe not since they switched to Deshaun Watson, but they were with Brissett.
Yeah, I'll also just piggyback on, and I think you and I are saying the same thing right now. The number 2 seed in the NFC, as you called them, the miraculous Minnesota Vikings. I had to check my stat 2 to 3 times, but am I correct in saying 11 of their 12 wins have been within 1 score?
I believe I heard that stat, so I'm gonna take that.
11 of their 12 wins have been within 1 score.
It's crazy.
Everything evens out. There's no way, right? I mean, you just learn probabilities in basic probability and statistics. That is an anomaly. You cannot continue to win like that. That's like baseball teams that have an unbelievable record in 1-run games, right? The swing's coming. You're going to be on the other side of that eventually. I cannot believe that Minnesota, that many games by 1 score.
Yeah. Well, that's that point differential thing I was talking about last week. The Vikings, 9 games over 500 are plus 5 on the season. The closest team to them, the New York Jets, 7 and 8, are plus 2.
It's crazy.
The Vegas Raiders, minus 2, so 7-point differential. 6 and 9. The Miami Dolphins, -5, 8 and 7. That's 7 and 8, 6 and 9, 8 and 7. That's where teams that are plus 5 through 15 games are supposed to be around 500. The Raiders obviously have had some bad breaks. The Vikings, though, have had unbelievable breaks go in their favor.
To be 12 and 3 with that differential is crazy. It's insane.
And that's and look, you've got teams like the Browns that I just mentioned, 6 and 9, -20.
Yeah.
They're closer to the Vikings than the Vikings are to the Patriots in point differential.
It is
the Patriots are 22 points better.
It's mind blowing. And again, when I see that, you think that eventually, again, the probability, the statistics tell you that will even out. So you can't put a lot of faith in them. Meanwhile, San Francisco just keeps moving on, man. Brock Purdy and the 49ers just keep pushing on. And, 1 game behind that number 2 seed. And I don't know, I like Gardner Minshew. I do. I don't know what Hurts' status is for this week. I would think if I'm Philadelphia, if Hurts can go this week, you let him go, you get the 1 win, and that kind of locks up home field. And then you sit him in week 18 to get through whatever he needs to get through. Right. But if you go both these games with Minshew, you got a chance of falling out of that number 1 seed.
I think they should be able to beat the Saints with Minshew, frankly.
Yeah.
I think that my biggest concern with the Eagles, and this goes for the Cowboys too, is their defense.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cowboys gave up a lot of points to a Garner Minshew-led offense, and the Eagles can say Jalen Hurts was out. They gave up a lot of damn points to the Cowboys. Need to be concerned, and the Eagles are starting to get some of those. Lane Johnson's injured now, and and he's putting off surgery to rehab, so he can play in the playoffs. You never know if that kind of, the guy who needs surgery, who's rehabbing and toughing it out through the playoffs, a lot of times they're not themselves in the playoffs.
100%. Well, and it's one of those. We're in the NFL. Everybody adapts, right? And so the beginning of the year, a lot of teams had to figure out how to. Micah Parsons was the X factor, right? This guy was a one-man wrecking crew on all things when you played Dallas. But now teams are figuring out how to scheme him enough to neutralize, right? Enough to be able to exploit the rest of the defense. But I'll tell you that in the ugliness of what I watched in that Tampa Bay Arizona game, I'll tell you one guy, like J.J. Watt, completely took that game. J.J. Watt looked like a man amongst boys, like 2 drives in a row. J.J. Watt was in the backfield before Brady. He was taking the snap with Brady. Like, it was unbelievable when you see a guy who truly steps up to take over a game like that. Micah Parsons used to, but they're starting to scheme around him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. With J.J. Watt announcing his retirement, I did look ahead to Week 18, which is one further. They play the 49ers, and I could see him just having an all-time game, just one last hurrah. So the Niners, I probably hope they're not playing for any seeding in that game.
He looked unstoppable in the second half of that Tampa game. I mean, Tampa's O-lines had trouble, but man, he looked unstoppable.
Yeah, well, he's probably going to bring every ounce of effort and energy he has left in his last 120 minutes in the NFL. Since the Cardinals obviously don't have anything ahead of them beyond the playing out the string. There are a few games like the Cardinals game that are completely irrelevant, except for maybe for draft position in Week 17. But obviously, there's a lot with a lot of implications. And a lot of those are lopsided. Like, we don't need to talk about the Cowboys-Titans because, frankly, the Cowboys 12-point favorites, and I think that's maybe generous to Tennessee. The Lions and the Bears. If the Lions don't win the game, it's not worth talking about the Lions anymore. Chiefs-Broncos, easy game. Big one that comes up, the first one, just jumping through it. It's a Miami Dolphins at New England Patriots. The Patriots, with any other coach, I would think this team is done. They are toast after the heartbreaking loss, giving away the game against the Raiders. Well, giving away an overtime opportunity against the Raiders, but then against the Bengals, fumbling the ball, Stevenson fumbling the ball away, I think inside the 5 when they could have taken the lead. It's just a team that seems like they're allergic to winning, and frankly, they don't have they just don't have a lot of talent on that team. I'm shocked that they're 7-8 and a game out of the playoffs.
Yeah. I think this is a game in Foxborough that the Dolphins should. But now I tell you, the early line opens up with New England -3. New England being a favorite. Miami's in all kinds of turmoil. And I keep saying this is the bounce back. This is the bounce back. But maybe that bounce back doesn't happen, man. Maybe this is where you need a true hard-nosed leader and not a player's coach. Somebody to push you through at the end. Maybe that's what happens. So the Dolphins one jumps out. The other one, man, plays over in your land, right? This is a big one for your Saints. The Panthers and the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers division with the win.
Yeah. So, and Carolina, again, I just can't say enough about fire the head coach, trade your star player, kick out a quarterback that was a first-round draft pick, and mess around and get yourself in the playoffs. I mean,
they control their destiny too. They beat the Bucs, they beat the Saints. And there's two road games, but they can come out of those two games. They're certainly winnable. They've beaten both of them earlier this season.
100%.
It's kind of gross that a 6-9 at 7-8 matchup is an important game for the division.
Right.
It might be even worse if the Panthers win and if the Saints pull out a miracle in Philadelphia. And then you've got, the Saints Panthers winner, and then the Bucs, but the Bucs still beat the Saints if they beat the Falcons. And, hell, it'd be easier if the Eagles beat the Saints, so I can just root for the Panthers to beat the Saints next week and let them
and let it go. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't want to be in that scenario, but I kind of wouldn't mind it just to.
So how about also, and then I'm going to toss it back to you with the other one that I look at, the miraculous Minnesota Vikings coming into Lambeau Field. And Green Bay's starting to feel itself just a little. You got that Rodgers magic looking like it's coming back. He's got a good connection with Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, and Aaron Jones and Dillon doing a good job. And, Rodgers is the kind of quarterback that can make young players start to believe. Right. And then they got to come into Lambeau. It's going to be cold. We know that. I don't need to look at weather.com to realize in December it's going to be cold in Lambeau and maybe some weather. Right. And if Minnesota loses that game, Green Bay is right in the thick of things to get that 7 spot and get in the playoffs.
And that locks up the 1 seed for the Eagles if they didn't do it themselves earlier, which I think I don't know that Green Bay, by the way, 3.5-point favorites. A balmy 37 is the temperature in Green Bay. Much warmer than like 90% of the games this week.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there were some rough ones. And of course, the game of the week that we would be remiss to not bring up, I think maybe an AFC Championship game preview, is Monday night. And I'm so happy it's Monday night. It feels like it's been years since we've had an important Monday night game.
It does.
The Buffalo Bills at the Cincinnati Bengals. Both teams obviously in the playoffs. This is kind of maybe a battle for the number 1 seed, or maybe, to put the Chiefs in the number 1 seed if the Bengals pull it out. But I mean, this game has big implications for teams like the Dolphins battling for that 7th spot, because the loser, if the Bills lose this game, the Bills are, I think, looking decent to be their matchup, or maybe the Bengals. I guess the Bengals would have the tiebreaker. I don't have the playoff machine in front of me right now, but boy, I hope it's a good game. Weather, it's supposed to be 49 degrees, so it's cold, but not going to really affect the outcome. So we should have some potential for fireworks, and Joe Burrow's going on all cylinders right now. The Bills, even when they play poorly, which they did like the first half against the Bears, you look at, they blew them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they played poorly for a stretch. Yeah, they won by over 20 points. So does it matter? The Bills are the only team, I still think, that can play a crappy game and blow a team out. Even in the playoffs, I think you could see them play a horrible game and come out with a convincing win. That's why I put the Bills number 1 on my ballot, because they are the team in the top that I feel like has the tendency to make a lot of mistakes, but they are so damn talented, it doesn't affect them not much.
Doesn't. And you got the emergence of James Cook, who's playing better and better every week, so they're getting something from the running back position. So yeah, I mean, both of those teams, I'm going to be, again, as a Dolphin fan, if we get the win in New England, I'm going to be watching that game close. The other game I'm really going to have my eye on is the Sunday night football game, which may mean nothing in the world other than, in a hell of a rivalry, the Steelers and the Ravens, the black and the blue, the black and purple, just that hard-nosed rivalry. If the Ravens can win this game against their hated rival, it will ensure that Mike Tomlin will have his first ever losing season as a Steelers head coach. There's no chance for him to have a winning record, an even record, no, nothing. Drop them. We get them to 9 losses, and they will officially have a losing record for the first time since Tomlin took over, and I will celebrate that.
I know you will. I do have a fun hypothetical for you. If the Dolphins do not win their game and the Steelers win, both teams tied at 8-8. New England would actually be the 7th seed, though. So the Patriots would lead the logjam of 8-8 teams, even if the Jets win and it's a 4-team lockup at 8-8.
Right.
The Patriots would have the. I'm playing with the matchups right now, which is so fun to do.
Now you're gonna have fun with this one. Look, I need the blemish on Tomlin. I just need that for my soul as a sports fan. I need Pittsburgh to have a losing season.
Hey, I'll give you that, and I'll give you one more. I need Tom Brady to have one.
Yeah, exactly. You need Brady to not make the playoffs. Christ, when is the last time Tom Brady didn't make the playoffs?
The year he tore his ACL and Matt Castle was the quarterback all year. They still finished 11-5, I think, but missed the playoffs. I don't think he's ever missed the playoffs as a starting quarterback, has he?
I don't.
Did he in 2002?
Well, the year, I mean, the year of the Wildcat, the Patriots didn't make, but he blew his knee out in like week 2 or something, so he was out for the season early.
That wasn't his fault.
That wasn't his fault. But I don't know that he has, quite honestly. It's been over a decade.
Yeah, and I don't think he's ever had a losing record. I'm 99% sure that's the case. He's never had a losing record. So even if they go 1-1 and win the division, I'll still smile at the losing record.
Hey, so Jeff, and as we wrap this up and you threw out the hypotheticals, I'm going to throw one more at you, right? We all understand the uncertainty that is going on in Miami with the future of a young man with 3 concussions. They can say 2. He was concussed coming out of Buffalo, 3 concussions. 1 that they say signifies major brain damage when your hands clench.
Mm-hmm.
And right down the road in Tampa, you got TB12 saying this ain't his last year. If the Dolphins collapse at the end of this and it's mismanaged, as much as Ross wanted to make that happen before, enough to tamper and to lose picks and to lose everything else, is there a chance of the Peyton-Brady combo winding up in South Beach next year?
I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. McDaniel looked like he was super secure, but look, say they lose the next 2 games,
and you go 6 game
6
losing
straight losses to finish the season.
To finish the season out of the playoffs, the mismanagement of everything else, you've got every reason in the world to fire him. And we know that Stephen Ross, we know who Ross wants. And the only reason McDaniels is on that sideline is because Ross got caught tampering. And it's because of Brian Flores. If Flores would have kept his mouth shut, Sean Payton would have been on that sideline already. So that could be an interesting scenario.
Yeah, we'll see. I haven't heard Miami's name brought up in the Peyton sweepstakes, but it certainly, again, depending on how the Dolphins season plays out.
Sure.
Not making the playoffs after starting 8-3, I would argue is a fireable offense.
Yeah, well, but I got to tell you, after watching that game against Sunday night, I don't think that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle can save Tom Brady. It was miserable.
No,
it was so bad. I don't know that I want to see Brady in Miami at the end of this.
I think Brady would actually be worse, if anything, for those 2 speedsters. I think he, especially Tyreek. I mean, Waddle's good on the underneath stuff, but I don't think you want Brady. Just doesn't have the deep ball accuracy anymore.
No.
Age does affect all men. It just took couple years longer for Tommy.
Right. When he thought he was the exception, there is no exception. The only man in this world that's undefeated is Father Time.
Mm-hmm. And he remains so.
Yes, sir.
Well, guys, we have one more. We'll do an end of regular season power ranking show probably as well, but
maybe a
probably
playoff
2 more.
preview. Right.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll shift FL Teams Live to more of a playoff preview down the stretch here. And hey, maybe we could figure out another live broadcast even on FL Teams at some point in the. We'll see what game gets flexed to Sunday night next week. Could be the Titans Jaguars.
Maybe. But I'm telling you, that Monday, January 2nd, that Monday Night Football game, that looks like one that might be worthwhile. I could live stream a Bills Bengals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I'll be watching regardless.
Exactly. So we might have to run that by the young goat.
Yeah, I'll be watching with a cocktail in hand, regardless of whether it's on whether my face is on a screen or not.
100%.
That much is a stone cold lock.
Stone cold lock of the week. That's it, man.
All right, folks. Well, for Jeremiah Hensley and myself, thank you again for joining us. Happy New Year to everyone watching. Do us a favor, hit the subscribe button, follow FL Teams on all the social medias, and share this top shelf sports with your friends and family, because that's what good people do. Sometimes I start a sentence.
I said a little bit yesterday, but we're not going to see you with a stream on any kind before 2023. 2022 has been a hell of a year for FL Teams with a lot of new and exciting stuff. Things like this power rankings, things like doing some live broadcast and watch-alongs. And we appreciate all the support and love of the people who've been around. Spread the word, like Jeff said, man. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Anything you do helps out, because we continue to look at more new and exciting things coming in 2023. So I appreciate each and every one of you folks every week who tune in and check this out. And I'm sure I speak for Jeff, Isaac, and everybody else when I say that. It's a lot of fun to think that we'd be doing this here all by ourselves, right? It's fun to have people along, but we're just doing it because we love to do it and talk. And it's great to have people jump in and join.
Absolutely. Amen to that, and ditto. And thank you, everyone, for all your support of us and of FL Teams. It is much appreciated. Great things in 2022, and hey, here's to a even bigger 2023 here at FL Teams. See you next year, guys. We out.